Hello everyone. Today I'm going to explain the poem Geography Lesson, and the poem is composed by Zulfikar Ghose. Born on 13th March 1935, he was born in Sialkot, India, and this is now a part of Pakistan. He is a famous poet, essayist, and novelist. He is now settled in USA. He has written poems, short stories, novels, and literary criticism as well. So he wrote 5 books of literary criticism. Now let's know the theme of the poem, what the poem is about. The poem is about a geographical view of Earth from sky. The poet looks at the Earth sitting in a jet plane. The poet talks about the human settlement near water and earth. It is about irrational and illogical attitude of humans. The poet thinks that human beings are irrational and they are illogical to make regional and territorial boundaries, because when the poet sees the earth from that height, the earth looks as one to him, and he sees so many regions, so many territories, there are so many boundaries. That's why he is really sad to see those boundaries, and that is called an irrational and illogical attitude of humans. The poet talks about the selfish and mean behavior of humans who are bent upon hating each other. The poet is sad to see how human beings hate each other. So these points work as theme of the poem, and this is really a very good poem. Let us know the overview of the poem. The poem is about a lesson that the poet learns through the geographical view of the earth. The poet is in the sky in an aeroplane, and he sees the geographical view of the earth, and then he learns a lesson. In this poem, the poet talks about 3 important things. First one is how everything looks from the sky. He is looking at the geographical view of earth, and he looks how everything looks. He looks at the city, a city that appears haphazard, a city that does not look well settled and unplanned, a city that looks unplanned on the ground. But when he looks at that city from that height, that city looks clear and orderly from that height. So, this is the first view that he has got. Secondly, he talks about how civilization was established, how human beings established there near water and on plains. The necessity of water and land for our existence was made visible from that height. The poet saw from that height how water and land both are important for our existence. And the third thing that he talks about is the question that came into his mind about the mystery behind human hatred. At the end, the poet thinks, when the earth is one, why human beings go on to create boundaries, why human beings are confined in their hatred, why they hate each other when the earth is so beautiful. Now let's read the poem Geography Lesson. When the jet sprang into the sky, sprang, jumped, or flew high into the sky, the poet is sitting in a jet plane, and it was clear why the city had developed the way it had, seeing it scaled 6 inches to the mile. When he is there in that aeroplane, and when the aeroplane lifted off into the sky, then the poet was able to see clearly, and he understood why the city had developed the way it had, and then he understood the reason why the city developed the way he could see from that height, seeing it scaled, and now he could see the city that scaled 6 inches to the mile, and from that height 1 mile looked 6 inches to him. When he noticed the scale, 1 mile was 6 inches. He was so high there, flying, there seemed an inevitability, certainty, about what on ground had looked haphazard, unplanned, and without style when the jet sprang into the sky. The poet says that when he could view the city, and the city was looking very small, 1 mile looked 6 inches to him, and from that height he came to know why the city was developed in that way. What on ground had looked haphazard when he was there in the city, when he was on the ground, the city looked haphazard. The city looked to be built in a disorganized way when he is on the ground. The city looked to be made in unplanned way, and the city looked to be built without any style. When he is onto the ground, he could feel that the city is not made in a planned way. It doesn't have a good style. But when he is up to that height, he knew that it is inevitable. He understood the reason why the city was built like that. It was inevitable, it was certain. The city could not be built the other way. And from that height, the city looked quite changed. When he is on the ground, the city looked haphazard, unplanned, and without style. But when the jet sprang into the sky, the view changed, and now the city looked the other way to him. When the jet reached 10,000 feet, and now when the height is much, when the plane is soaring higher than before, it was clear why the country had cities where the rivers ran and why the valleys were populated. The logic of geography, that land and water attracted man, was clearly delineated when the jet reached 10,000 feet. When the jet reached 10,000 feet, it was clear. When he reached to much height, then it was clear to him why the cities of the country were situated near rivers. He could see from that height that all the cities, all the countries are situated near the rivers or where the rivers ran, and why the valleys were populated. And from that height, he came to know why people populated or people lived in valleys. He knew the reason, and the reason he is giving there in this paragraph, the logic of geography. He says that he knew the logic of geography. And what logic of geography he learned? He learned that land and water attracted man. Human beings are attracted by land and water. In fact, land and water are necessary for the existence of human beings. Without water, human beings cannot live. Human beings are to live on land. That's why land and water both attracted man. And this was the reason he explains here that all the country, all the cities of country are situated near riverbank. When the jet reached 10,000 feet, and this logic of geography was clearly delineated, or he had understood the logic of geography that the boundaries of water and land is depicted, or he could see those boundaries from that height. When the jet rose 6 miles high, and when the jet was higher than the previous altitude, it was clear the earth was round. And then he was able to learn a new geographical fact, though he knew it before. But now he says that when he is up to that height, he could see that the earth is round and that it had more sea than land. And only then, when he grew to that height, he knew that the water portion is much on this earth. But it was difficult to understand. So he knew a lot of facts there from that height. He knew about the cities, he knew the situations of the cities, he knew that water and land attracted human beings, he knew that the earth is round, he knew that more portion of sea is there than land on earth. But one thing is there that was difficult for the poet to understand. And what was that difficult thing? That the man on earth found causes to hate each other. One thing that he could not understand from that height, why human beings hate each other, why they build walls across cities, why are there so many territorial boundaries and to kill. He does not know the reason why human beings found the reasons to destroy each other's property, to kill each other, to annihilate each other. Why human beings try to suppress or oppress others. He could not know the reasons for all these things. From that height, it was not clear why. From that height, it was not clear why human beings are behaving in this way, why they go on to hate each other. So the poem is really beautiful. Now let's know what message the poet wants to convey through this beautiful poem. Though directly he has not given any message, but indirectly he conveys a message of brotherhood. He conveys a message of fraternity through this poem. The poet sees a single earth. He can view a single earth there from that height. And he is sad. He is really sorry to see that people are divided. He says that the earth is one and we are living on this earth and we are divided. Divided in the sense we are selfish. We think only of ourselves. Our mentality is really narrow and we do not like others prospering. So these things really give sadness to the poet. People on earth are selfish. He notices that people on earth are selfish. They are narrow. They are narrow minded, for they hate each other. And they hate each other. With these qualities, these negative traits, because of selfishness, because of narrow mindedness, hatred is automatically to created. Or because of that hatred, these feelings are created. He implies that there should be no borders, as he can see the earth, a single unit. So he implies, indirectly, he gives the message that there should be no borders, no barriers, no territorial differences. And because of these barriers, because of these territorial differences, we are bent upon hating each other. So, among human beings, we should not create such barriers that could keep our hearts away from each other. The poet finds the earth to be one, as a single unit, but he does not find people to be one. He can see that people on earth, they have got different attitudes. They have got selfishness. They have got feeling of hatred towards each other. The poet indirectly suggests that people living on earth should not be divided. They should not be divided up to that level that they start hating each other. They should not be divided so that they should be enemies of each other. They should not be enemies of each other. That's why such differences of barriers and territorial differences might be abolished. I think you have understood the topic well. If there is any query, any doubt relating the topic, feel free to write in the comment section. So thank you for watching the video till end. See you again with a new video on a new topic.